It's another beautiful Saturday in the month of August, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's edition of Editors Forum. I am Rita Omodia, and of course on this program we get to discuss issues making front burners in the country in the past week, and I hope you all enjoyed the Salah holidays Monday and Tuesday. As for me, I was here doing journalist work. As the media goes, there's no holiday for us, but I'm sure all of you out there had time to enjoy and of course appreciate the reason for the season. And of course on Tuesday, President Muhammadu Buhari directed the Central Bank of Nigeria to stop providing foreign exchange for importation of food in the country. And on Wednesday, the president assented to two bills, including the Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019, which gives a lifeline to condemned criminals not executed 10 years after exhausting all legal procedures for appeal. And of course, the name of the Nigerian Prison Service was therefore changed to Nigeria Correctional Service by President Muhammadu Buhari. And of course, on Friday, we had the leader of the Shiite group, Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY, returning from India back to Nigeria. Now we know the controversy surrounding this particular man as of 2015, when he was arrested and detained by the DSS for allegedly killing Nigerian soldiers of 347 of his supporters during a clash in Zaria, Kaduna State. And the soldiers accused the Shiite group of blocking a major road that was supposed to be used by the army chief, Chuko Buratai. And that massacre of the Shiites has been condemned by local and international rights groups. And since December 2015, as I said earlier on, EL-ZAKZAKY and his wife have been in detention, and which called for protests among his members of his group, calling for the release of EL-ZAKZAKY due to several court injunctions that called for his release. But the federal government still kept him in detention as a result for them national security. Now we had several protests. We had the National Assembly protest, where the Shiite group marched to the gate of the National Assembly demanding the release of their leader, Sheikh Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY. And we also had the bloody clash that claimed the lives of two people, and that's the co-member serving in Channels television, and of course the deputy police member, of course, of the name Usman Umar. And that was really a very sorry state for Nigeria. And after that clash, the federal government decided to release Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY to go to India for medical treatment, because according to the protesters and his members, their leader is in a very serious medical condition, and that's which he should go to India, or rather go for medical treatment. And the president, the federal government, agreed to allow him go to India. But arriving in India, well, this story is getting very long, but arriving in India, he was complaining of the fact that the federal government had actually labeled him as a terrorist, and this necessitated his return back to Nigeria 3 days after being in India. Wow, the story goes on and on and on. Well, right here on the program for today, we have Tono Nwaje. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, Rita.
And of course, Dr. Dayo Kayode, thank you for being on the show with us.
Pleasure being here. The story continues on EL-ZAKZAKY.
And of course, Emeka Madnagu.
Good afternoon, viewers.
And a smile.
Saturday. Okay.
All right, thank you for joining us on the show, and we will start the show with the story of EL-ZAKZAKY. But let's take a look at this report, and when we come back, we'll analyze the issues for today. The embattled leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY, along with his wife Zinat, returned to Nigeria after 3 days away in India, where they were earlier scheduled to receive some medical attention. The cleric, who is the leader of the Shiite sect, arrived in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by an Ethiopian airline which touched down at about 12 noon this Friday and was quickly whisked away to the presidential wing, away from the cameras of waiting journalists. ZAKZAKY and his wife were then taken into a waiting vehicle belonging to the Department of State Services, DSS, and driven away. The closest pointers to ZAKZAKY having arrived the country was the sight of a couple on wheelchairs being taken to the tarmac upon their arrival, and that was the best the cameras could capture. There was also heightened security activity at the airport during the period, with DSS and military personnel cited to ensure things are in order as there were rumors of the cleric's followers heading to the airport to have a glimpse of the leader. ZAKZAKY's medical trip to India had to be cut short at his instance after faulting the activities of the Nigerian government, which he alleged flew him to the Asian country with a terrorist label on him and his wife. The cleric cited the harsh conditions at the Indian hospital where he was billed to receive treatment as justification for his request to be flown back to Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bayanin da na farko shekarun jiya ban da kwanan wata ba, wato shekarun jiya talata bayan mun iso mun baro Abuja Litinin mun iso nan talata, ranar ne kuma ne magana na farko. Sannan kuma ran Laraba na so in yi magana jiya kenan, yau kuma Alhamis ya zama dole in ƙara wasu bayani. Na ji an ce mahukuntar Najeriya sun bayan su bayanai wanda suka shirga karere ko dai a gazgata ne ko a gazgata gwamnatin Najeriya kan wannan lamari. Su abinda mu abinda muka fahimta su tun farko sun so su kai mu wani asibiti ne, su da suke cewa mu kaza wannan asibiti sun su kafin ma mu zo sun shirya jirgin su na kashin kansu kuma suka ce za su kai mu wani asibiti mai suna Fortis. Muka ce to ai ga wannan mu kaza ba, suka ce ainihin ai su sun bincika sun ga wannan Fortis din ya fi, to da mun yadda da Fortis suka kai amma anan abin da suke gaya mana mu ko suke gaya muku shine mu kaza wannan asibiti, amma abin da suke gaya mana jami'an asibitin wanda kowanne su abin da ya gaya mana kenan mu likitocin suna cewa gwamnatin kasan ku ce ta kawo ku, ta roki kuma gwamnatin kasar nan ta ba su kariya saboda za su kawo yansu mutane ne da ake tuhuma da miyagun laifuka da suke da wayansu rashin lafiyar da ba sani ba. Saboda su an kawo musu mutane da suke da ciwo ne da sun mene, saboda kuma farko sai suka kawo mu abin da suke ce mata samshi, suka fara bincike sai ke ce musu to ai wa'annan abubuwan da kuke tambaya kan mun riga mun hayyake wannan, mu a wurin mu ainihin likitoci daban-daban a gida da waje sun dudduba mu sun tabbatar da cewa akwai mu da waɗansu amma sun mana magunguna daban-daban tun shekara kusan 4 da suka wuce ne. Sai yanzu ne aka gano tun ma ba dama can aka gano waɗansu abubuwan da ya kamata a fita waje saboda su kuma kansu muka fito mun ɗauka haka ne. A wancan bayan na faɗa abin da ke tare da malama da kuma ni abin da ke tattare da wanda su ne muke tsammanin za a zo a yi, amma su suka ce a wasu ka'idar su nan aka zo na asibitin kowa zai fara ne daga farko, za su ɗauki komai tun daga farko ne domin kai ka zo asibiti domin kana da matsala kana da harsashi za a kwashe sai a ci maka a yanzu ba su kana ciwo ne da ba san wani irin ciwo kake ko kuma kana da guba na lead da academy sama a ce a ba san matsalar ke da ke damuka ba, ko kuma ka zo da matsalar cewa za a yi maka kokon gwiwa a ce sai sun amince ka tun farko, alhali akwai takardu da bayanai na likitoci da suka yi bincike suka gano me ke tattare da mu. In ma da wani wa'anda suka kawo cikas to su mutanen gwamnatin Najeriya ne, ko da suka zo nan bayanan da muke ji wajensu daban, bayan da su suke mana wanda suke kuma daban. Saboda haka fahimtar mutanen asibitin nan shine gwamnatin Najeriya ta za ta zo da kuma gwamnatin wannan asibitin da kuma gwamnatin India shine gwamnatin Najeriya za ta kawo waɗansu mutane waɗanda ake tuhuma da miyagun laifuffuka domin a yi masu magani a India. Shi kenan magana. Sannan kuma tun da mu ba mu yarda da Fortis ba, da ƙarshe suka yarda a zo mai tanta. Da aka zo sai zama kawai sun fara waɗannan kamar da ke. To mu kuma sai muka ji da makarar su aika abin da ya kawo mu, suka ce su ba abin da dole ne
Welcome back. You're still on to Editors Forum, exclusive to Galaxy Television, and the video clip you saw there, that was what transpired on Friday when the Shiite leader Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY came back to Nigeria from India. And in that other video clip you saw of him talking, he was talking about how the federal government had treated him quite harshly. Now, yesterday in a press statement from the federal government, we saw that the federal government released a press statement, and it reads, the federal government wishes to inform the public about the latest development in the Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY medical trip controversies to India. The government notes with dismay the acts of misconduct exhibited by EL-ZAKZAKY that necessitated his repatriation. With total disrespect and complete loss of decorum for international procedures while in India, he initiated contact with a team of lawyers led by Ali Zia Kabe, Chaudhary and Gurjan Singh in the country. He also contacted some non-governmental organizations such as the Islamic Human Rights Commission and other Shiite groups. His aim was to seek asylum and eventually relocate to another country. It is important to note that if an Indian court had granted EL-ZAKZAKY asylum or leave to travel to another country, it would have violated the Nigerian court order that granted him permission to travel for medical treatment. However, he used the opportunity of being in India to attempt to internationalize his cause by mobilizing the rights group. In spite of his misconduct, EL-ZAKZAKY's spouse went further to antagonize the Indian and Nigerian security agencies and accuse her later of killing her children. These acts were aimed at winning international sympathy as well as disparaging the Nigerian government. Having subordinated the request for medical treatment to other ulterior motives, it has become obvious that EL-ZAKZAKY was focused on realizing some sinister moves, thus the decision to return him to Nigeria. Grace Isugekwe, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Abuja, dated 16th August 2019. So we heard from EL-ZAKZAKY, and of course we also heard the federal government response saying that he used the opportunity to try and gain, or rather relocate to another country. So let's hear from our analysts who are here today to analyze this discussion. Let me start with Tony Mwanje. It's quite a long one. How would you see the whole face-off? As I said earlier on, and as Dr. Dyer said, the story continues. What's your analysis on this?
The issue is, I don't know why this EL-ZAKZAKY issue is lingering. It's taking so much time, and Nigeria, for me, will have a lot to do to get the country working again. EL-ZAKZAKY issue is completely out of it. For me, it's more of a personal war than a state war, yeah. Because this thing didn't start today. In fact, the Chief of Army Staff, and with the tacit support of Mr. President, gave birth to this crisis. If not for the killing of over 300, that's according to Kaduna State panel of inquiry. But the Shiite was saying it was over 600 people that was killed. But let me take the statistic from the state. They said over 300 and some, close to 400 people killed, simply because the Chief of Army Staff was kind of stopped briefly from embarking on a journey. And then the next day, they brought the house of this man down, killing his children and all that. Why is it that we are not looking at this? We are always good, we're always jumping the gun. No, let's take time out to look at the genesis of this crisis. I remember I watched the president, the first and only media chat he had with Nigerians, where he was supporting the Chief of Army Staff. How that these people went beyond their, how dare they touch a general in the chest. I mean, that was too much. In other words, they supported the Chief of Army Staff for doing that. I think these are issues. When Nigeria, I've said it before and I'm saying it again, that life is so cheap here. So what happened to the lives of these people? What happened to the lives of this? And that wasn't really, as if that was not enough. They now went after these people in the streets. If you don't want something, you are the president. There are procedures, there are processes to get this thing, to get these people off the country. Why using force? There are laws. If they don't, if they fail to abide, I heard a lot of people say, if you go to Kaduna, if you live in Zaria, you see them the way they parade the streets and all that. That is not enough reason for you to kill people as if you don't value them. You are the president. You're supposed to protect cover, security to the, for everybody in this country. Lives were lost, and nobody's even talking. These people belong to families, and then we are still on it. How many years? About 2015. That tells you that we are not even looking at the bigger picture. And the man, okay, after a while, this is not the first time we granted bail. They don't obey court orders. They don't obey. Okay, they said, okay, let the guy go to India. According to information, the guy got to India, and the security there was like, okay, I'm in jail. There's no difference. Let me go back to the country. Let me go back and then maybe start the process again. If we don't tackle the root cause of this problem, we are going nowhere. People are killed daily in Nigeria, and nothing happens. This is why we're talking. This week alone, we had, last week and now, what the soldiers did in Taraba is still, because that is the genesis. When you kill people, I think nothing can happen, because it's the military that did that. People were killed, and that was the next day they went and they still killed more. And then you can see the story is ongoing, because they feel they are more superior. And rather than the president to rain on them, and you don't go killing people like that. Okay. You don't go killing people like that. There are procedures. You don't fire. If you feel you were trained to kill, go to the forest. Don't kill innocent people. There are ways of getting this thing so that where I have issues is the fact that people are killed in Nigeria, and we talk about other things. No, it's EL-ZAKZAKY. It's the state. The president was right. We're not talking about those who were killed. They were buried in mass grave. Okay,
Tony Waja is taking us back to the root cause of the problem, saying that we should actually solve the root cause, and he's also prioritizing the life of every Nigerian. But in this situation now, let's look at the reaction of the federal government to EL-ZAKZAKY. They did not grant him freedom. They only said they were taking him for a medical treatment in India. And then he said he was labeled as a terrorist. Now, what should have been the procedure of the federal government? Should they have allowed him go freely without any security operatives around? Because they didn't say they were going to free him. They only said they are going to allow him receive medical treatment. And that is what EL-ZAKZAKY is saying, as calling him, or rather categorizing him as a terrorist, because he's still under, they've not granted him freedom there. Let's hear from Dr. Dayo.
Yeah, thank you. I want to be holistic in addressing this issue, especially this area you're talking about. When you're even looking at it from the onset, this EL-ZAKZAKY's issue didn't start during President Muhammadu Buhari's regime. It has started before then. Now, what has the government done? But when something is growing, it's either you allow it to grow, or if you don't want it to grow, you quickly uproot. The governor of Kaduna State then, the chairman of the local government where EL-ZAKZAKY was then, what did they do to curb a so-called abridging or security breaches? Then they didn't do anything. When you are being given a step, if you are not stopped, you take the second step, you take the third step. They were not doing anything till when it now got to Bratai issue, till it now became a national issue, till the thing now turned to national and international embarrassment on Nigeria. Now, this guy had been incarcerated for a very long time. Yeah. What has the court said as regards that? Court is saying free him or grant him bail. All right. Now, when you are now following court orders, his followers started building up sentiment on some other people, and they started joining. The group started growing. Even at that point, what are you even supposed to do again? We have laws in our country. When you see something as affecting your internal security, what do? You take it to court, and then probably you proscribe the organization. I don't even want to look at it from the angle of whether the Sunnis or the Shiites now, because that is a very, very sensitive issue that I wouldn't want to delve in. It's always subjective, you know. You proscribe the organization and you stop them from doing whatever they say they want to do. If not, that young guy of NYC that was killed, that guy of Channel's reporter, wouldn't have died by now if they had already nipped the bud from the beginning. Now, the court is now saying, allowing him to go for treatment. But he has to go with security details. Since that is the court's pronouncement, and he was not given any freedom, go for treatment, come back. But then I said something immediately of that court judgment. I said the court did not say, look, with what your doctor and government doctor has submitted, this is the maximum months you can use outside the country for your treatment. The court didn't mention that. The court was silent on that. I don't know why. I don't know why they were silent on that. 2, the court did not tell him what and what he can do when it's outside. Because the moment you are outside the confines of wherever in Nigeria and you are in the hospital or so, they didn't say, okay, you cannot make phone calls, or you cannot receive visitors, or you cannot talk, or these are the things you should eat, or whatever. They didn't say that. Or we, the court, is supposed to say it. And for court not saying that, it too has assumed. I mean, we are all human beings. I could remember on a particular forum, somebody was asking me, do you think this guy is going to jump bail or not? I said, I wouldn't know, because I don't know his mind. I'm not one of his inner caucus. But we have seen it severally in this country, whereby even politicians will be in custody and they say, okay, they want to go for treatment and all that, and they will jump bail. So whether he will jump bail or he won't jump bail, I wouldn't know. Now, for him to now say, look, I cannot take this kind of treatment you are giving me here, that even what you are subjecting me to here is even worse than what I was experiencing in my country, so I better go back to my country. Okay. So I wouldn't see him as going beyond. But
aside the federal government treatment, why didn't he allow the doctors there treat him?
Sure.
So they want to poison him.
What he's looking at is, let us look at it from our own angle. We have seen situations whereby some people are being poisoned. Okay. Either food, water, or wherever. I mean, I read the story of Bob Marley now. How Bob Marley encountered cancer. Do you understand? And some other people like that. So he too must have looked at it. And
he's scared of his life.
He must have been a student of insurgency, counter-insurgency. When you are talking about insurgency, counter-insurgency, he knew what could happen. So if I were him, I want my own personal doctor to treat me, even in their presence. So why are you denying him his personal doctor? That's why the fact that the security agents, they are all there, the officials of Nigeria, wherever, are all there, the officials of the Indian government too are also there. Allow his personal doctor to treat him. The only thing is, you might say, okay, I won't allow you to have personal discussion or discussion outside media, because you'll be there listening to what they are saying, so that you won't allow him to go beyond what he is expected to tell him. So for me, yeah, it's back in Nigeria, it continues, but the thing is, I want Nigerians, and especially the government, to let us be careful with this case, because this issue has turned into an international issue, of which the dimension, nobody can say yes or predict it. Even the Pope cannot predict the dimension. So we have to tread gently.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Daya. Talking about international limitations now, of course, we know that Iranians are also calling, during the protest, we're also calling for the release of their leader, Sheikh Ibrahim EL-ZAKZAKY. So it's not only even Nigeria, we have Iranians who also having, interest in the case. Okay, let's hear from Emeka. What do you think we've missed in all this analysis between the federal government and EL-ZAKZAKY? Because we are hearing insurgencies, counter-insurgencies, trying to save my own life, the federal government trying to protect national security, national interest, and all that.
The fact of the matter is that government allowed itself to be drawn into national controversy. Okay. watching the video of the confrontation between EL-ZAKZAKY's followers and the convoy of the Chief of Army Staff, that issue could have been it could have been avoided. Excuse me, because one, they knew that such an incident could have occurred, and so the security aides of the Chief of Army Staff could have, you know, preempted that blockade. They could have moved ahead and worked on it. After all, during the 2015 election, campaigns, the governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai and his people sent this, they all went there to greet the man and to solicit his support. How did he now suddenly become the criminal you don't want to associate with? That's dubious. That's duplicitous. So, you allowed yourself get into this controversy. Then the Kaduna State government set up a commission of inquiry. A white paper came out that said that the soldiers who carried out the killing should be put on trial up to date. No soldier will be put on trial. Now, we go further. The federal government, seeing that it had boxed itself into one of numerous flaws, avoidable flaws, due to poor strategic thinking, now shifted it to Kaduna State. That, is the problem of Kaduna State government. So conveniently, the Kaduna State government now filed charge that is so, for the killing of a soldier, without directly linking ZAKZAKY or his wife to the killing of the soldier. And there are decided cases, even in the Supreme Court, on guilt. Somebody was killed. Who killed the person? Oh, due to this, all circumstantial. Without directly linking him, you now put him on trial. And you have been deliberately winding the trial. First, the Chief Justice of Nigeria appointed one of the judges handling the case and put him into an election tribunal, knowing how sensitive this case was. And that kept the matter in the limbo. Then, the day a judge was supposed to sit on the bail matter, the judge was nowhere to be found. Now, you go on. The followers went on the streets. You conveniently started killing them. And there's still controversy around the death of that Deputy Commissioner of Police. You claimed it was Shiites that killed him. But Shiites said it was your shooting that killed him. It had even killed that young man, unfortunately. Then the next thing, the judge that was to sit on the bail suddenly appeared and granted them bail. Then the same Abuja, without thinking again, jumped into the fray, showing vested interest, which is a big problem in this country, when government shows vested interest in judicial matters. And then what do we have? A man on trial, when the law says that every accused person remains innocent until proven guilty, you already told the world that he's a criminal, based on the statement of a permanent secretary. What's the interest of the permanent secretary in that matter? The Kaduna State government, to which you pushed, under whose jurisdiction you pushed ZAKZAKY's case, brought us some conditions that, okay, we need to look at the bail. You ignored the Kaduna State government in a matter that is not yours. You went to India, see the embarrassment. The man said, okay, let's come back. Let me stay here so that if I die here, people know where I died and who killed me. The daughter has warned that the father may die any moment from lead poisoning. And what you are doing is that you now quickly ran, got a judge, a pliant judge. I didn't even consider the sensitivity of the matter and declared the organization a terrorist group. Okay, fine. We now have 3 terrorist groups designated by government in one country, in Nigeria. Okay, now put it to the side. And what are you doing now? On one hand, you are calling him a terrorist. A man who has not been convicted, you are calling him a terrorist. On the other hand, you are expressing that his case with the Kaduna State High Court should proceed. Now, what do you want? What do you really want? No clear-cut thinking, which is the hallmark of this government. No clear-cut thinking. Just jump into issues. Just jump into issues. Listen, this matter is a very straightforward issue. It's a very straightforward issue. The clear vested interests of government in this matter should be divorced from this one. If you're trying him for the alleged murder of a soldier, why not proceed with it and quickly dispense with the case? But the more you drag the case, the more you show to the world that this is not about justice. This is about validating the suspicions of some of a wide section of people across the world that there is more to this matter that meets the eye. And you can see what has been going on. You saw his lawyer, Femi Falana, what he has said. That government has been playing a very, suspicious role in the whole matter. So they deliberately created a scenario where they think they can hold on to him. But let me tell you something. They're only increasing the number of political prisoners in this country. And Buhari should remember when he was military head of state, what happened after he was overthrown. Babangida simply sent people. They went to the central facilities of the Nigerian Security Organization, NSO, and released all the detainees there and showed them and said, look at what Buhari was doing to Nigerians, picking them and throwing them into detention, just to get. And that was one of the things that made Babangida gain popularity, quick popularity. Reduce all this noise. Vested interest in her. Pick everything, put everything into one. If you are putting him on trial continue with trial, dispense with the trial. And let the man defend himself. Don't convict the man. This media trial that this government loves doing with every matter should stop. Right. Allow the courts to decide. If the court frees the man, allow him to go. What's all this harassment?
Okay, thank you very much, Emeka Madinago. Let the court decide. Let the rule of law prevail. And Dr. Dyer said Nigerian government should tread carefully with this. Now, aside this, back to matters affecting Nigerians. Actually, all matters affect Nigerians because this is still part of security. Well, let's talk about the economic aspect. Yes, economic aspect now. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari disclosed on Tuesday that he has directed the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to stop providing foreign exchange for importation of food into the country. That's bringing of food from foreign countries into Nigeria. And let me quote what he says, that don't give a cent to anybody to import food into the country, Buhari said, according to a statement when he made a call in efforts to bring about a steady improvement in agriculture, production and attainment of food security. The foreign reserve will be conserved and utilized strictly for diversification of the economy and not for encouraging more dependence on foreign food import bills. Now, some economists now have hailed the directive from the federal government. Let's take a look at this report, and when we're back, we'll discuss the issue.
Nigeria has been an import-dependent nation since the oil boom days. The country still imports all types of fish species, stockfish, tomato paste, rice, vegetable oil, milk, and even toothpick. Nigeria, which once controlled 40% of palm oil in the global market in the 1960s, still imports as the country's production capacity dropped to 1.8% in the new millennium. President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has always held that Nigeria must be able to produce what it consumes and consume what it produces. Hence, it has been handing loans to farmers through the Anchor Borrowers program. Tuesday's directive that the country's foreign exchange be used for other developmental purposes rather than encourage continual dependence on foreign product has thus been described as laudable by this economist.
It's an aberration for us at this point in time, to be talking about allocating scarce foreign exchange to importation of food items. Any economy that will develop, you need to take care of your food basket. And once food basket is not resolved, it will come back and bounce back in terms of inflation.
Nigerians must first understand that stoppage of forex support to food importation in itself is not restricting importation. this is not a food importation restriction. This is just saying that we spend a lot of money supporting people who import food that we can actually produce. And I say that Nigerians should not get too sensitive and too opposing of the government. I think if this government should succeed, Nigerians will benefit from it.
While the Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association and the Center for Social Justice, amongst others, say the President's directive to the CBN is coming at a wrong time, these respondents say the time to really act is now.
If you import, all right, you create food for smugglers. You create food for illegal activities. You see, the point is, we don't have the surplus. And then if we are importing foods, we are not developing the local economy. We are developing foreign economy. What this government is doing is good. What we need to do now is to accelerate the process of other sources of income, like development of other mineral resources. Because what we depend on in this country is an obsolete product.
They urge the President to move fast beyond mere rhetorics and create a conducive environment for agriculture and local businesses to thrive, with calls for private partnership to enhance the capacity of farmers in food processing and preservation.
Is that a time will come in Nigeria where we will have no cost to import any product. We will produce, we will hit what we'll be using in the country will be entirely what we use. And it is at that point that Nigeria will become wealthy. What is being created when you subtract cost of production from cost of sales? The difference is your wealth. If you are not producing anything, then you cannot be wealthy. You will always be a consuming nation.
But what they lack is this. They lack the experience in crisis management. Why? They lack the experience of putting the right people in the right places.
You're welcome back. You're still on to Editors Forum, and earlier on we're discussing EL-ZAKZAKY's arrival to Nigeria, and now we're talking economy and agriculture as the federal government banned food importation. Okay, let's start with Tony. How do you think this is going to affect Nigeria's economy? Is it coming at the right time, or this is something that should have been done earlier on, or are you even against this act?
It would have been a good policy. We can feed ourselves in this country. We don't need to import all manner of food into the country. We have the land, we have the human resource, we have the capital. If the government can encourage the banks to support, and a high number of people go into farming, we can do it. But my problem is the manner of approach, to our policies in this country. The president was in Daura when he made that pronouncement, and I'm wondering, was he trying to make some people happy or what? There are procedures on how to make things like this work. But first and foremost, the question is, have we attained food sufficiency in Nigeria as we speak? Can we feed ourselves with what we have at the moment before we can then say, okay, it's time, let's stop importation of foods and all that. We can feed ourselves. Can we? And then he went forward to say, we've attained food security, and I'm wondering, I don't want to go too much into this. It doesn't look as if I have issues with the person of the Mr. President. But the issue is that we are doing the right thing in a wrong manner. First and foremost, let us go into agriculture. Encourage the banks. I have seen a lot of people say, I want to go into agric. And I can, in 2 years, let's say first 2 years, they're out because it's not sustainable. You use your fund, you use the limited resource in your pocket to go into it. At the end of the day, you don't have You don't have the market for it. No support from government. They are making noise and encouraging people to go into farming. How? You say you've been able to break the jinx in the fertilizer sector. I mean, and who are those who are getting these fertilizers? So that is not, for me, we've not done enough. First and foremost, you have to encourage local farmers. In this same country, we ban chicken importation, turkey and all that. But I know for a fact, I know a place where in the night, a major market in Lagos here, where in the night around 12, it's between 2 and 4 o'clock, vehicles bring turkey, chicken and all that from across the border to the market, and they come in convoy. Wow. They come in convoy. I've witnessed it. I'm not telling you from what I've witnessed it. They come in convoy into that market, and they stay there till 5 before, and they discharge. They move into this market in convoy. They come through the border. So that's what I'm saying. How porous is that? But before you can start saying we will do this, that's why I laugh at times, because I see it as a joke. Have you put the right things in place to make sure this thing is sustainable, that it works? It's good. It's a good policy. Let's not take that away. But let's just stop making jokes out of these things. For me, it's a joke. Put the right place. I mean, for as we speak now, we don't even have ministers. And when the president makes such a policy statement, you're asking, we want to know at what point was it in a meeting with the Minister of Finance, the CBN governor, and all the managers of the nation's economy? Where are they? It's not just the president saying it. Everything has to be put on the table first. Then we can say, okay, we've done this. Then we proceed to the next step. We can't do it. We cannot ban. We can't stop issuing FOREX for food importation. You know what will happen at the end of the day? Because we have the black market. We have bureau de change. Who can do that? If your bank can't give you, there are ways. There are always loopholes. If you can plug those loopholes, then we can say, okay, we are firmly in charge and we can do it. So it's not about making statements that are not sustainable.
Okay, put the right things in place, says Tony. We have land, human resources, capital. Do we have the industries? Dr. Dyer.
Yeah, you see, I don't even want to go further from where he stopped from that. Okay, what are the things that are in place? Let me take you back to the days of Awolowo, when he was encouraging people to go and plant cocoa, plant cashew, plant this. Then he came up with Cocoa Industry Limited, CIL, where they were then making Milu and all that at Ikeja, which is now moribund. He came up with cashew processing industry in LALE in Ibadan. That place too, I saw it of recent, moribund. Then he came up with a lot of farm villages where you can take your produce, your cassava, and turn it to gari, lafun, fufu, all sorts of things. What do we have now? 1, 2. When you were talking about it, you say because you want to conserve foreign exchange. You want to conserve foreign exchange. For goodness sake, there are other areas where you can conserve foreign exchange. Medical tourism for the elites, school tourism, educational tourism, and all that we waste our foreign exchange on. All those things, you can use them to conserve foreign exchange. And it is so interesting that we as a people, because I don't want to see him as the president saying it. Whatever he says, he's saying it on behalf of Nigerians because we voted for him, except it is being overturned by the court. But as of now, we voted for him. That we just signed this African trade, whatever. Now tell me, other countries, they will be feeding facts on this. Because they will bring all those things to their own country and then bring it there on free trade. Because we have free trade. So tell me, we are just being penny wise and pound foolish. We are even talking of food sufficiency. To what extent are we? Don't we see import beans from Niger? Don't we import wheat? You will be surprised that the corn that we normally use to make popcorn are being imported.
Okay.
Not our own kind of corn. I got to know this from makers of don't let me know one brand of cornflakes.
Okay.
One brand of cornflakes. They are not planning. They are not planning to have their farm around that Obomosho or your axis, of which they don't have yet.
Yes.
That cornflakes, we used to import it. If I remember when I was growing up, my father was always buying that cornflakes for us. They are now making that kind of cornflakes here. But the corn they are using to make it being imported. Okay, talk about our local rice. Where is our local rice? The one I bought from Ekiti has finished now. For them to bring another one for me from Ekiti, I couldn't get. Go to Ayege market, go to anywhere market, you will see all this local rice there.
Why?
Other than polished rice.
Imported rice.
Imported rice. And we are talking of food sufficiency.
Yes,
where is that food sufficiency? Nothing stops us from all investment that have been put into local rice in the past years. What is stopping us from having all this rice now? You know the problem? Because the value added chain. We are not thinking of it. We are not thinking about processing. We are only thinking about planting. Look at ordinary Cote d'Ivoire there. They told them, if you want to be buying our cocoa, no way. You have to bring your chocolate industry to our country. You have to bring your Cadbury to our country. You have to bring this to our country. Because they found out that when they sell their cocoa at say 3 naira, when they are buying it back, they are buying it at 18 naira.
Cocoa from outside.
They are buying it 18 naira. No, I'm only saying, why don't you ask all these people you are sending all these things to bring their industries here, so that we can have that economy of scale here in our country, so that we will not be importing all those things again.
All right.
Encourage the local content.
Encourage that local content instead of us exporting our cocoa, wasting our cashew and all that.
All right.
Go and plant. You are not talking about how you can make good use of those products into final product, like we used to do in those days. All those industries now moribund. Look, where is our rubber plantation again? Do you understand? At that time, it was feeding our rubber plantation. Were feeding Dunlop, was feeding Michelin, but now tires are being imported. So those are the big issues. I'm not saying you shouldn't stop that, but then let us face it. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Not that you just stop it, bam, or else it's going to be a problem.
So sorry, let me just chip in, please.
Okay.
And recently, the president signed African Continent Free Trade Agreement,
that's what I'm saying.
which allows signatories to that agreement
to trade freely,
without any hindrance. So now you're now saying you're banning forex for import. I mean, I'm seeing a contradiction. I need to be educated. I don't know. Is there a contradiction there?
It will now turn us to a dumping ground. Other people will now import themselves, and then they bring it down here because they have access to our market.
I noticed the president's reluctance initially. He was pushed to sign it. Obasanjo spoke many times. Let's go ahead. We must encourage this free trade zone with signatures, the Rwanda Declaration and all that, so that the countries can grow. But now with this move, I don't know how. For me, it's a contradiction. In one breath, you sign it.
We're not paying back for it.
I mean,
I remember.
I don't know who advised.
Let me give you another instance. That look at it. If you are saying that free trade, that means any airline like South African airline can come to Nigeria and take us to UK or US from here. So where does it leave us?
So they will take from us, but we can't take from them.
Do you?
Exactly. We can export to them. We can't take their imports.
So where do we go from there? It also leads to unemployment because those people will bring their own people here too. Because of that free trade.
I think that's why at times it's not good for the president to just make statements.
All right, let's quickly hear from Emeka.
Let's hear from
him. No, they've said some of the things I wanted to say, but I just want to touch on one or two points. One, the Central Bank of Nigeria has an independent board. It's independent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the president cannot just give directives to the Central Bank. Let's get that clear. One.
Okay.
Two, the Central Bank has already started the journey on, you know, the path to limiting imports, because we're having issues with reduced inflows. Oil price is averaging between 57 and 60 due to global issues. And then we're not having, we've had a drop in, you know, foreign investments, you know, coming in. Then, so what it means is that we have to take drastic actions, you know, to preserve foreign reserves, so that foreign reserves, because they've dropped.
Okay.
Our foreign reserves in the last few months have dropped.
Why did they drop?
And then, no, that's what I said, I'll just 1, 2, 3. So our foreign reserves have dropped. So our revenue, our inflows are not coming in as fast as they are going out. So quite all right, I can understand, you know, Mr. President's
position on
this. Yeah, Mr. President's desire to make sure that we don't run into another recession, we don't run into a crisis, liquidity crisis, you know, that our foreign reserves don't drop very sharply. I can understand. I share that view.
Don't misunderstand. Don't misunderstand that word foreign reserve, because it has its own content.
I'm coming. I can understand, you know, that okay, fine, we don't want to fund imports, food imports with forex, with our forex. But again, he didn't say we are going to ban these things. Fine. But I feel like Dr. Dyer said earlier that this thing should be done in phases. Because the issue of food is a very big, it's a very wide area. You don't classify food. You know, the primary definition of food is just what a living organism needs to survive from day to day. But when you go into the wider realm, you know, food, you have food-based raw materials that are used in industrial production. Yeah. We have concentrates. We don't produce concentrates in Nigeria because of power supply. You have times when tomatoes are very expensive because we don't grow tomatoes 12 months in a year. So at some times of the year, we don't preserve them. So you have some of these problems that we have yet to overcome. So that's why I support what Dr. Dyer said. It should be in phases. We need to really get a hold on rice production, on production in different areas. Then again, we also need to expand our value chains. Processing. Because when we talk about food, and when we talk about meat, for instance, we talk about just, you know, beef, chicken, turkey, and we limit it, but we can actually expand.
How about dairy?
Now, you have issue of insecurity. A friend was just telling me yesterday that their maize farm was plundered by herdsmen. Last month, that they just planted the maize and the farm was plundered. Government has not dealt with that. Then you have a lot of farmers who have migrated southwards. They are into, they now ride bikes, you know, keke. Why? Because of insecurity. You have millions of Nigerians in IDP camps. People who should actually be in the farms, they're out there in the IDP camps. There are some who are even outside the country, in Cameroon, in IDP camps in Cameroon. So Boko Haram is still ravaging the Northeast. And you know, the Northeast is a source of some things like mangala fish, you know, watermelon and all of those things. So what we need to do is that we need to get our focus clear. And the president should allow the CBN to grow. We need strong institutions, not strong men. The CBN started with 41 items, later added Texas to it. Good move, but you have to allow the CBN, let the CBN make the pronouncements. So let Nigerians react, let the CBN engage stakeholders. And then the right decisions will be taken. But when you now want to decree it by presidential fiat, you will not achieve anything.
Strong institutions instead of strong men. Wow, that was a lovely one there. Fortunately, this is where we'll have to draw our curtains for today's edition of Editors Forum. Thank you very much, Tony Nwaje, Dr. Dyer Kayode, and of course, Emeka Madunago, for your unbiased analysis. We talked about Nigerian government really treading its path, then of course allowing the rule of law to prevail. We also talked about the agriculture and of course economy. Emeka Madunago talked about how insecurity is going to really affect the agricultural sector and, of course, farming processes. So the federal government has a lot of work to do there. We still play for a better Nigeria. And, of course, thank you very much for being a part of today's edition of Editors Forum. I am Rita Omodia. Do join us same time, same station next week, God's willing, for another edition of Editors Forum. God bless Nigeria.